In the opulent chambers of Alexandria's royal palace, Cleopatra reclined in a bath of warm goat's milk, infused with crushed rose petals. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the alabaster walls, creating an ethereal atmosphere that seemed to blur the lines between the mortal world and the realm of the gods. A Roman envoy stood at the threshold, his breath caught in his throat. The sight before him was more intoxicating than any wine he had ever tasted. Cleopatra's golden skin glistened in the soft light, her dark eyes holding secrets of empires long past. He found himself unable to move, transfixed by her beauty and the palpable power that emanated from her very being. With a single, graceful motion of her finger, Cleopatra beckoned the envoy closer. It was a subtle gesture, yet it held the weight of a royal command. The Roman, a man accustomed to giving orders rather than receiving them, found himself helpless to resist. His hands moved of their own accord, unbuckling the straps of his armor. Each piece fell to the marble floor with a dull thud, the sound echoing through the chamber like the tolling of a distant bell. As he approached the bath, Cleopatra's lips curved into a smile that held the wisdom of the Sphinx. She began to speak, her voice a melodious whisper that seemed to caress the very air around them. The envoy leaned closer, eager to catch every word. "Do you know of Isis?" she asked, her fingers trailing lazily through the milk. "She, who is the mother of gods and protector of the throne." The Roman shook his head, mesmerized by the way her lips formed each syllable. Cleopatra continued, weaving tales of the goddess who had taught mankind the secrets of magic and medicine. As Cleopatra spoke, her hand emerged from the milky bath, droplets cascading down her arm like liquid starlight. With deliberate slowness, she traced her nails down the envoy's chest, leaving a trail of goosebumps in their wake. The Roman shivered, though the air in the chamber was warm and heavy with the scent of roses and myrrh. "Isis bestowed upon me the knowledge of love and war," Cleopatra murmured, her eyes never leaving the envoy's face. "She taught me that true power lies not in the clash of swords, but in the whisper of a promise." Her fingers found the rapid pulse at his throat, and she smiled at the evidence of his desire. The Roman envoy, a man who had sworn oaths of loyalty to emperors and generals, found himself ready to pledge his very soul to this Egyptian queen. But Cleopatra required no such grand gestures. Instead, she guided his hand to the water, inviting him to join her in the fragrant bath. As he slipped into the warm milk, the envoy felt as though he were shedding more than just his physical armor. The walls he had built around his heart, the prejudices he had harbored against this foreign land and its enigmatic ruler, all melted away like mist in the morning sun. Cleopatra's hands moved over his skin with practiced ease, her touch both soothing and electrifying. She whispered secrets into his ear, tales of ancient rituals and forbidden knowledge that made his head spin. The envoy found himself lost in a haze of sensation and wonder, unable to distinguish between reality and dream. As the night deepened, their bodies entwined like serpents, sleek and sinuous in the milky bath. The Roman envoy, who had come to Egypt with thoughts of conquest and diplomacy, found himself conquered instead. With each kiss, each caress, he pledged his loyalty anew, not to Rome, but to the woman who held him in her thrall. The hours passed like moments, and yet each second seemed to stretch into eternity. Cleopatra's laughter, low and musical, echoed off the chamber walls. The envoy drank in every sound, every sight, committing them to memory as though they were sacred texts. As the first light of dawn began to creep through the high windows, Cleopatra's eyes grew heavy with satisfaction and sleep. She nestled against the Roman's chest, her breath warm against his skin. The envoy held her close, marveling at how this powerful queen could seem so vulnerable in his arms. But as the sun rose higher in the sky, reality began to intrude upon their secluded world. The Roman envoy knew that he must return to his duties, to the world beyond these perfumed walls. With great reluctance, he extricated himself from Cleopatra's embrace, careful not to wake her. As he dressed, fumbling with the unfamiliar clasps of his armor, the envoy's eyes were drawn to a glint of gold on the bedside table. There, nestled among scattered rose petals, lay a ring. He picked it up, turning it over in his palm. The gold was warm to the touch, as though it still held the heat of Cleopatra's skin. Engraved upon its surface was her name, intertwined with the sinuous form of a serpent, the symbol of Egyptian royalty. The envoy slipped the ring onto his finger, feeling its weight like a promise. He knew that he would carry this token with him always, a reminder of the night that had changed everything. With one last look at the sleeping queen, the Roman slipped from the chamber and into the bustling corridors of the palace. As he made his way through the winding halls, he realized that the scent of roses and milk clung to his skin, a lingering reminder of the night's passion. In the days and weeks that followed, the envoy found his thoughts constantly returning to that candlelit chamber. The memory of Cleopatra's touch, her voice, her very presence, haunted his waking hours and filled his dreams. He found himself unable to focus on his duties, his mind always drifting back to Egypt and his captivating queen. In quiet moments, he would catch himself absently twisting the ring on his finger, feeling the raised edges of the engraving. Each time he did so, he could swear he heard the echo of Cleopatra's sigh, as though carried on the wind across the vast expanse of sea and sand that now separated them. The Roman envoy knew that his loyalty to his homeland had been irrevocably shaken. He had come to Egypt as a representative of Rome's power, but he left as a man forever changed. The political machinations and military strategies that had once consumed his thoughts now seemed pale and insignificant compared to the memory of that single night. As he sat in council meetings or stood on the deck of ships bound for distant shores, the envoy found himself longing for the warmth of Cleopatra's chamber. The scent of incense that permeated the air of Rome's temples only served to remind him of the heady perfume that had surrounded the Egyptian queen. In the years that followed, as tensions between Rome and Egypt grew, the envoy found himself torn between his duty and his heart. Each time he was called upon to advise on matters concerning Egypt, he felt the weight of the ring on his finger. A constant reminder of the pledge he had made, not with words but with every fiber of his being. And in Alexandria, in a chamber lit by flickering candles, Cleopatra would sometimes pause in her political maneuverings. Her hand would stray to the empty space beside her, and for a moment, she would allow herself to remember the night when she had held the heart of Rome in her hands. The memory of the envoy's touch, his devotion, his surrender, would bring a smile to her lips, a secret smile that held the power to topple empires. For in that single night, more had been won and lost than in 100 battles. Alliances had been forged in whispers and caresses, and the fate of nations had been sealed with a kiss. The Roman envoy and the Egyptian queen had written their own chapter in the grand tapestry of history, a chapter penned not in ink, but in the language of desire and the currency of secrets shared in the dark. And so as the wheels of politics and war continued to turn, the echoes of that night lingered on, in the scent of roses, in the glint of a golden ring, and in the sigh that seemed to hang in the air long after the lovers had parted. She gasped,